my show Saturday Night with Hayley Palmer because I started it in my dining room. Nobody wanted to come on it. My dad was the cameraman. We literally were like just laughing, going, this is ridiculous. But now, you know, I've built it up. I've had over 600 guests on there. And this year I was like, I'm going to have an audience. And I've done 2 so far, Saturday night live shows with an audience in the West End of London. And it was a pinch me moment. I'm getting emotional speaking about it. It's because I haven't stopped to think, you know, I've got to take those moments to just really go, oh my God, I've come this far.
Life today is chaotic, unpredictable, and constantly shifting. But within the chaos lies opportunity, and we're here to seize it. This is Generation Uncharted. Hayley, thank you so much for joining me on Generation Uncharted. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing really well. Thank you so much for having me on.
Thank you so much for coming. So, I guess let's get into it. First question I want to ask is really about presenting. So, nowadays, anyone with a YouTube account and a phone camera can become a presenter. And at the same time, when we look over at broadcasts, like the budgets are getting tighter, there seems to be fewer and fewer opportunities to do presenting sort of mainstream. So I wanted to understand from you, is this a good time or a bad time to be pursuing a presenter career?
I love that question. I think it's a good time. I mean, I always see things in a positive way because I think if you are in a career like showbiz and you think negatively about it, I just don't think it's for you. I think you have to always be little bit deluded and be like, no, it's a good time, keep going. You know, I always say to people that reach out to me, and I do get a lot of people that reach out to me on Instagram, and they're like, oh, I really want to be a presenter. And I'm like, well, this is such a good time for you. Why don't you make your own YouTube channel? Why don't you do your own podcast? Why don't you get clips of you going out on the street and interviewing people? Like, there's so much scope to be a presenter, I think. Whereas when I started, I guess it was about sort of 6-7 years ago, but there wasn't really there was YouTube channels, but it wasn't as big as what it is now. So I did mine in more of an old-fashioned way. Like, I did my work experience at ITV. I was lucky to get that opportunity. But nowadays, I don't think that's such a thing. I think there's such more of a platform. I mean, there's pros and cons to things of how things have changed. But I just think if you really want to do it, which I have to say, a lot of people contact me and I don't actually see the results. If you really want to do it, then you've got to really use your initiative and be creative and think of different ways that you can show that you are a great presenter.
I feel like with presenting though, and maybe this is an old way to think of it, because as you say now, there's nothing to stop you grabbing your camera and going down the street and interviewing, you know, who's at the bus stop. But a lot of this career historically has been, it's not about what you know, it's who you know. So do you think it's easy to make the right connections now and to get in front of the right people, or to even know who the right people are to speak to? You know, I mean, obviously, you know, you might know a producer, but they're not going to be able to hire you because they don't have that power. So what's it like to actually make the right connections in this industry?
I think it's really important. I could sit here this morning and send 50 emails and I might get 2 replies. But actually, if you're meeting the right people out, which is exactly what I do, I am out most nights of the week and I'm having fun. I'm enjoying whatever the event is. But I do make sure that I'm making really good connections. It's all about who you know. It's all about having those personal relationships with people. And I feel like that is how I have got on in life, is by having just really good relationships. Like today, for example, I'm going off to film, and the place that I go to film, I've just got like a really good relationship with the people that let me film there. And it's just really nice just to, just be kind and courteous and do things for them back. And, I just think sometimes people lose that. I mean, maybe I am a little bit old fashioned, but for me personally, it's about having good manners, about people seeing your hunger for wanting to do it. I've had so many people that have been so kind to me, and it's literally because I've been like, look, I started this my show that I do in my dining room. I've built it up to where it is now. If there's any chance I could have your help, that would be amazing. And people are like, yeah, do you know what? Of course we'll help you. It's just kind of, sometimes you've got to be honest about where you've come from. I'm just a grafter. Like, I haven't come from showbiz, I haven't come from fame, I haven't come from money, but I have that hunger in me that really, really wants it. And every day I'm getting creative and I'm working hard towards my dream.
Well, let's talk a little bit about working hard then, because obviously, so your show Saturday Night with Hayley Palmer has featured a lot of celebrity guests. So I wanted to know, as someone that interviews someone every week, how do you prepare for a celebrity guest?
Well, I'm just going to do one today, actually. So what I do is, I mean, the first thing I do is look at their Instagram and see what they're currently doing, because so many people want to talk about what they're doing at the moment. So I always make sure that I, really research up to date what they're doing. But also a lot of people I have on my show from the 80s and the 90s, and we go on a trip down memory lane, and this is my top tip, I always come out with something that they're like, how does she know that? So I always research like a really fun fact. And also sometimes, it can be too researched. I mean, just how we're talking now is nice. It's natural. It's, I think that can be equally as nice on camera for people. And I just sort of represent, I hope I do, what people are thinking at home. So I just kind of ask questions that maybe we're all thinking. But that's my style, really. I just chat to someone like I am in a pub. I don't force the questions. I'm like, oh my God, what's coming next? That's how I do it. And I genuinely love people, and I genuinely am interested. And I love hearing people's stories. I mean, sometimes, people have had that lucky break, but most of those people you interview from the 80s, they have grafted. You don't realise what's going on behind the scene. It hasn't happened by magic. They've been rejected 10 times, but they've got up again and they keep going. So I find it really inspiring.
I love that. So come on then, who's been your favourite celebrity to interview?
Oh, that is such a difficult question, because I usually tailor that question for who's asking it. Because if like the young ones ask me, I usually say someone from Love Island, or if it's a legend, I'm like Michael Bolton. That was amazing because he was my mum's favourite. I've had people like Michael Jackson's cousin, TJ Jackson, like just people that are incredible, and their stories, you're just sat there going like, is this actually happening? And they'll talk to you for an hour afterwards, and you have a cup of tea with them. And I've become friends with so many people, and like Kim Wilde, and I'd have Marty Wilde invite me around for lunch, and just do like incredible things. And like I say, I just try and have really good relationships with people, and each person that comes on has got a tale to tell. So yeah, just so many friends that I have made, and just, I say, so many incredible stories.
Obviously, celebrities, we kind of think of them as living these bold, big lives. What has been your most shocking story involving a celebrity? Either something you were involved in, or a story a celebrity told you. Is there one that stands out where you're like, I cannot believe that happened, or that people aren't dead or in jail?
Sometimes it's not what you think. Sometimes you've read all these things in the paper about them, but actually when you hear the real story or what they're telling you, you realise people have been through a lot of trauma, and sometimes, off camera, I do hear what it's really like. And for example, even people that have been on like reality shows like Love Island, you see this, smoke and mirrors that is, absolutely incredible. But off camera, they're literally like, you're sitting there with them and they're like, oh, I just don't know where my next job's coming from. And, I just don't have any money. And it is quite sad to see, so I've seen some quite sad situations as well off camera.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Well, actually, I did want to ask you, do you think it's better or worse to be a celebrity in the modern world? Because if I think back to some of the celebrities I've heard interviews with about life in the 90s, say, like, there were less channels, so you're a bigger celebrity. I mean, you think of the people on Coronation Street who used to have 20 million people a night watching them, and now it's gone down to 1 million. So bigger celebrities, there was more money, obviously economy was booming, but they couldn't tell their own stories. So if Heat magazine or something said you'd had an affair, you couldn't go on Instagram like people do now and say this is absolutely rubbish. So I feel like has celebrity gotten diluted, especially now it's not just celebrities, people spend their time looking at its influencers or whatever. So do you think that celebrity was better in something like the 90s, or do you think it's better to be a celebrity nowadays?
Yeah, I think it depends how you look at it. I mean, I think, like you're saying, like in the 80s and 90s, you were a massive, massive celebrity. It was different, for example, songs. You would go into a shop and buy their songs. You'd be really chuffed that you'd got their song, and the record sales would be amazing. You'd have like the top 40 countdown. It was a different generation, whereas now you've got this sort of culture of reality TV or being famous from the internet. I think you need to be strong in your mind. I really do, from what I'm seeing from people with reality and people that do become famous from social media. I think you've got to be so tough to actually do it. It might look easy that you're a content creator, but actually that pressure's on. You've got to keep delivering, and you've got to take what the people are saying on platforms, with the hate, and there's just so much you've got to take on. I think we've just got to run with the times, whether you like social media or not. I hear it all the time, oh, I don't like social media. Well, no, sorry, you got to get with it. It's how we run now. So, do you know what I mean? It's like, yeah, well, nor do I really, but this is what it is. You've got to do your best shot. And, you know, we're presenting, it has changed. We could sit here all day and be like, well, but when it used to be, but this is what it is now. How are we going to do the best, and how are we going to navigate it the best way possible to be the best at what your job is, whether it's presenting or music or working in Sainsbury's? It's like, how are you going to navigate it, you know?
Well, on that, so how has your presenting style had to evolve? I mean, obviously you weren't doing this in the 90s, but has your style had to evolve as sort of, you know, celebrities only used to be, you could only speak to them about their projects and maybe one question about their normal life. But now I feel like, you know, celebrities are up for doing longer form interviews, really opening up and getting into deep things we never heard about them. So how has your presenting style had to sort of evolve? And also the flip of that is clickbaity, you know, I'm sure it comes to your mind of like, I need to ask a question that we can clip, and it's a 45-minute clip and it's something juicy to help promote the show. So how do all of those factors play into your presenting style?
Yeah, do you know what? I don't see myself as a journalist. I don't see myself as trying to get that killer line, because I just feel like the way I get people on my show is just to have like a really nice experience. And if they do happen to say something that is something different that clocks in my mind, think, that's really good what you just said there, then I will just be like, is that okay? Do you want promotion? I probably do a different style to what other people do, but I actually make sure that everyone's okay with what I'm doing, because I don't want a backlash from it. Like I say, my style is just to be like a really nice chat with people. And I've always been like that. That's just my natural personality. That's kind of just who I am. But also I understand that, like, so many times I've actually had people on my show, and maybe like papers or magazines have asked me about that guest, and they've been like, oh, there's not really any lines that we can use. And I'm like, well, so be it. But I know that guest had a really nice time. And sometimes people just like just watching, like you say, in-depth interviews of their lives. But yeah, I guess they have opened up a lot more from how things used to be. But I think that's really nice. And I think sometimes people are so relatable, and I think people need to hear that. I mean, you see these showbiz lives and it's all like so fancy and like, oh wow, I wish I was that person living that dream. And it's not. They're just normal people that have either had a lucky break or worked really hard to get where they've got. And they're just like all of us. They've got to go through the same motions every day. They've got the same anxiety. If anything, they've got more anxiety. Most people you meet in the public eye have got more anxiety than others, I think, because they've got so much pressure. It's that constant pressure of people judging or people writing stuff about them. And, you know, it becomes a lot if you're not looking after your mental health properly.
Yeah. Just before we move off of celebrities, I couldn't let this topic go without asking. So you've said nothing but nice things about celebrities. Now, without mentioning any names, because I've already had one episode of this podcast killed by lawyers, so don't mention any names. But have there been any where you've thought, oh my god, what a nasty little person, I can't wait for them to get out of my studio? And if so, without naming names, what were they doing?
Yeah, I have. When I first started my show, it was in lockdown. I was doing it virtually like this, and I feel like I do my best to make people feel really, really welcome. And like I say, my selling point is that people feel like really comfortable when they're chatting with me. I go above and beyond for people. And there was this one guest that came on and just had so much attitude straight away, was completely talking down to me. And I was really, really shocked at his behaviour, because I'd loved him like for years. I was like, I always like, oh my God, he's amazing. So rude. Everything I kept saying, all the directions, just like huffing and puffing, like all like this. And I'm like one of those people that have got that line, like I'm so good to people, but then when I have that line where people are like being disrespectful, I'm like, because I used to teach dancing to kids, so I have that like teacher voice. Right. And I just said to him, do you know what, this is not the right vibe for this show. I actually think it's inappropriate, your behaviour, and I think we should leave this for another time, because I don't think this is the right time to do this interview. And he literally just couldn't believe that I'd said that. I was shaking, because I was like, no, I'm not going to sit here for an hour and you be like this. It's just not on. We're all humans. We're all just trying to help each other. And anyway, so I cut the interview off. As soon as I turned off the camera, I just burst into tears, because I was like, just so, it was horrible. And he actually sent me an email, and he just said, I am so sorry. I was going through such a bad time. I shouldn't have taken it out on you. Like this really long email just explaining how embarrassed that he was as well. You don't know what people are going through sometimes, and they are having a rubbish day. But I also think there is that line of like not talking down, especially when I first started, people didn't know anything, like who I was or anything. I think they just thought, oh, who's this girl? And it wasn't nice. And I was like, no, I'm not going to sit there and listen to that. No way. Like, Most people are like
Yeah.
absolutely lovely, but yeah, I've had a few of those, do you know who I am kind of thing. I don't like that. I'm like, you find that the higher up, like someone like Michael Bolton, who's a big superstar, couldn't do enough for you, will be like, is there anything else I can do for you? Oh, you want me to do a shout out for your mum? Of course I can do that. Like, they don't have any attitude. Sometimes it's the ones that are lower down that are giving it like the big I am, and I don't like to see that. I try and snap that out of people, but if they
Yeah.
continue, I'm like, no.
It's so interesting because I obviously go on to different TV shows and get interviews, and I found like some of the people with the nastiest reputations are actually the nicest people, like at least to me when I go in to guest. But I think as well, there's probably a pressure on presenters like yourself, right, to just suck it up and get the interview. So it's quite nice here that you've got that teacher line.
Yeah, exactly. No, I won't be spoken to like that because I mean, I would never speak to someone like that, however high up you got. And I always say you really do remember the people that are nice to you off camera and don't just switch it on for the camera. And I really do take note of that.
Right, well, let's move on to some tips-based questions, because I'm sure a lot of people that will find this interview will be interested in breaking into presenting as well. So, what advice would you give to someone that's looking to break into the media industry but doesn't have any formal training or an agent?
Yeah, I think this is a good question because I wish someone had told me this advice when I first started. I didn't have a clue what I was going into. I was like, oh, I just love talking. Let's go. I don't think you'll make much money in the beginning. I think you've got to do so much for free to get your name out there, to get the experience. I remember when I first started in radio and someone said to me, oh, you just need to get the radio air miles. And I was like, what does that even mean? But it just basically means you need to get the experience of just talking and just having that confidence. Like now I do the shopping channel and I'll chat for 3 hours by myself with nobody there in the room, just constant talking. And, you know, you get that experience of just being able to do it. Like I wouldn't have been able to do that 7 years ago. I'd have been like, what? Oh, it's intimidating. So you just need to get experience, whether it's going into a radio station or just, you know, I have loads of people that message me, say, can they help my show? Yeah, they've got someone coming along today to help. I give them that experience because it's exciting for them to see what's going on and whether they're cut out to do it. I think you need to do mindset work every day. I mean, that's coming away from the actual job, but I think it's really important to be strong in your mind, to be able to take on showbiz. I think you've got to keep knocking on those doors. Someone told me that once and I didn't really take it on board, but you have, you know, if you're not getting those jobs or there's like a job you really want and they've said no to you, it doesn't mean that 6 months later that person's left and someone else has come in, that actually you are their star and they do like you. So just never give up on the dream. And I think of it like an athlete. So in my head, people go, oh, isn't the TV industry so hard? Like, oh, you know, do you just not want to give up? That's not how I think. I don't think that at all. I think, no, there's opportunities for me coming my way. You know, good things are coming my way. Miracles happen to me. I keep going. So you kind of need that mindset. And also just to, yeah, be prepared to just, it's not like a normal job, I think is what I'm trying to say. It's not like a 9 to 5 job and then you're going to get a promotion. It's just like, be prepared to just take different avenues. I don't think there's a right or wrong way to get to where your dream is. I probably have a different style. Like, I don't think I'm the most talented presenter, but I work really hard. I just have it in me. Everyone's always really shocked at how hard I work. I come in from partying at midnight and I get out my laptop and I'll start working. I start sending emails to send out at 6 a.m, so it looks like I've done it at 6 a.m. And I just, yeah, I have that like natural like graft in me, but you've got to have that hunger. You know, like so many people want to be a presenter. I hear it all the time.
How do you deal with burnout? Because a lot of what you said there, like I see that a lot in me. Like for example, yesterday, so I was on a boat party, networking, going down the Thames. I didn't get home
Lovely.
until 11 p.m. and then I had to be up at 4 a.m. to go and do the papers on TV. Then I went and did my actual job. Then I recorded an episode of the podcast, and then eventually I fell to sleep. And that is quite. And I have kids as well, so it's quite a pace to keep.
Yeah.
And I actually realise now, because I used to do even more, like, you know, the advice column and writing articles and all this kind of stuff. It's like I actually know now. It's like, you haven't emailed that producer in a while, or you haven't texted that person, or you haven't gone out for drinks with that producer. It's like I'm clocking up in my head all the stuff that I'm not doing, but There genuinely isn't more. I'm like falling to sleep because there's so much, and also you want it to be fun too. So how do you avoid burnout, or how is there a point where you say, "Look, that's it, I'm done"? How do you balance that?
Yeah, I know. I can totally relate to what you're saying. Usually on a Sunday, I actually go to my parents' house down in Portsmouth, and my mum just goes to me, Hayley, just have a day off. Just stop it. Like you're on your phone constantly. Your mind's going like this. Just take a day off from what you are doing. I'm like, yeah, I know, but I need to do this. And she's like, no. And it's the only time that I can completely relax, because if I'm in London, I'll end up going out and, heaven knows what will happen. So I just take that actual day to go, no. And actually, I have to say, it does really do me good, because Monday I can reset and go. But I just do goals. Like today, I'll assess my day. Like, okay, so what can I do? At what period can I just sit down and get those last goals done on a Friday? And I just make a list. I'm old fashioned, like pen and paper. I'm like, tick. I
Yeah.
feel really good with myself. So I just organise myself, I guess, a little bit like a school working day. So I'm thinking, okay, well, I'll have fun this evening and have drinks if I do those 3 tasks and get that done. That's just how my little brain works in that way, but it might not work for everyone. But you have to be organised, because if we know, when you work for yourself, otherwise you just wasted the Friday. But actually, I could be doing things today that could get me results for Monday when I get a nice email through. So, and I just think it's a numbers game. I just think, like saying getting guests for my show, if I send 10 emails today, 1 will come back. Great, that's 1 guest for next week. That's all I need. So that's how I work.
Yeah, no, I like that. Well, actually, my next question really is about making those connections. So, what does that look like? Because I feel like, if this were a TV show or something, it would be like, oh, there's a fabulous party and there's one exec there you need to meet. But that doesn't really happen that much. I feel like people don't go out as much in that sense, and it is a lot of emails now, a little bit of sliding into DMs. So, how do you go about making the right connections and finding the right people, whether that's guests for your show or producers or backers or whatever it is that you need?
Yeah, I think it's word of mouth. Like, say if I have a guest today, and then like today I've got a guest from X Factor, and so I'll be like, oh, and then mention someone. I'll be like, oh, it'd be amazing to have them on the show. And usually they feel sorry for me and go, oh, I can ask them if you want. I'll be like, really, could you? That'd be amazing. I kind of do that a little bit, but not obviously too much. But it's always nice if they have recommended someone, because it makes it a lot smoother. I have really good relationships with PRs, so they'll come to me, which is nice, and be like, oh, Hayley, we've got this person going on tour. We've got this person that's got a new song. Would you like them? I'll be like, oh, that's so kind of you. Thank you. Yeah. So very good relationships with PRs and agents. And then as I said, I go out. And when I go out, I get talking to people. And I try not to make it like, can you come on my show straight away? But if I feel like they've got positive energy and I think they'd be good for the show, then I just be like, oh, it'd be so nice if you could come on. And I don't pressurize too much, but just kind of follow up gently. And to be honest, sometimes management can get in the way a little bit, because they'll be like, oh, I really want to do it. And then the management will be like, but I just think, well, everyone's got to promote themselves more or less, like not obviously to be like massive, but most people need promotion. Most people, if you've got a tour, you're going to need the seats filled in the theatre. So coming on a show is only good and positive, the way I see it, especially when they get to talk about themselves for like an hour.
How do you get the invites to sort of the celebrity events and the premieres? Because I get invited to some, but it's not something I actively go out and look for. It's like they've come to me, they found me, if it's in that sense. But it's like, maybe I'm missing a trick with being on a circuit. So how do you go about making sure you're at the right places to bump into people?
Yeah, you know what? It's interesting, because I always laugh, because I think it was when I first started about 7 years ago. And I remember my friend took me to like the first sort of showbiz bash. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. I just couldn't believe it. Oh, this is incredible. I want more of this. This is so much fun. I didn't really understand what was going on, but she started taking me to different parties and premieres. But I think when I first went out, people definitely, I was just starting, so I definitely wasn't invited to things. And again, I think it's just that thing of having good relationships that over the years, I always like thank them and, oh, please let me know if anything comes up. I'd love to do it. And I'd love that to be involved in my show. And just good relationships over the years that now, there's certain people that have been so good to me and certain companies that have been good to me. And, and I'll do that back. Like if they want me to interview their cast of show, then inviting me to the premiere, then it's a two-way thing. But yeah, like definitely, I remember when I first went out, it'd be embarrassing because I can remember the photographers taking photos and being like, we've no idea who this is. So you got to like build that up over the years. But you know, I don't think it's everything like going out the whole time, but it is if you want connections, because that's where everyone is. And that's, you know, like I remember being at the NTA Awards and going straight up to like the big boss of ITV. Like you've got to take those chances, you know, and they're not going to come and knock on your front door. So if that person that you know you're emailing is stood right there, I don't care. I've got no shame. I'll just go straight up to them and be like, hey, like, it'd be great to have a coffee with you and chat with you, just even 10 minutes of your time, you know. And then from going up to that person, the next week there you are sat with them in front of them. You've got to make it happen. And like I say, it's not for everyone. And sometimes I surprise myself because I'm like, oh God, Hayley, that was a bit cringe. But I'm like, no, you've got to. Like, no one's going to come and sit and, like I say, come and knock on my door this morning. It doesn't work like that. There's so many people that want to do it.
You're talking about that, and obviously this podcast is we're looking at loads of different elements of modern life and how to be successful. But what you've just said actually related to, I've had on 2 dating experts, and they were both talking about you've got to be bold. You like the girl, go and say hello. Yes, you might think you're a weirdo, just try not to be one. But go and say hello, because she's not going to come up to you and ask. And I guess
no, and also I think this is a really good point. Someone told me once that like just. You think that they know that you want that job at that TV station. Like, well, how do they know that if you're not telling them? Like, you think people are reading your mind and know that's your dream. Well, no, I'm just to let you know, if that opportunity comes up, whether it's 1 month or 5 years from now, I would love to be considered for that role. Like, just plant that seed. It's not cringe. I think people actually think it's quite endearing. Like, when people come up to me and go, oh, I'd love to be a presenter, or can I come and help you? I think, do you know what? Good on them. I'm going to give them an opportunity, because I like that in people that do that, and it stands out to me as well, because like you say, especially the British were a bit like, oh no, I don't want to do that, like, oh, it's a bit embarrassing. Well, once you've got over that embarrassment and they just think you're a good person, then what's the problem?
And I think probably that's, you know, where it's like there are so many people put off from approaching the girl or approaching the exec or whatever. So if you're the one person that can do it and you're going to be bold enough to do it, you're probably in a very small amount of people that are actually then in with the chance.
Yeah, that's what I think. If you think how many emails like these big execs are getting, and like then you've just gone up to that person, at least they've, like, you might not be their type style, or you might not be, but it doesn't matter. You've made that connection. And I just think, like, when I did my work experience at ITV, I'd be like, oh, who wants a cup of coffee? Who wants a cup of tea? And I'd be like, off. And I'd be like making friends with everyone. I'd be like in the lifts being like, oh, sorry, what do you do here? And like literally making connections. Right, okay, great. Like, you've got to make yourself known. Like, life's too short. And actually, no one cares. Actually, showbiz is quite a small. Well, everyone does actually know everyone, don't they? So it's kind of, you know, you've got to get yourself out there.
Well, let's move on to find out a little bit more about you then. So one of the questions that I've been asking a lot of my guests recently is about some of the pressures of the modern world. I want to kind of start out with asking you, what do you judge yourself for?
I try and stay really strong in my mind, but when I have been on TV appearances, for example, especially like national ones, I've come off and people have been really horrible on X and stuff. So I came off like X, for example, for like a couple of days just because I couldn't handle what I was reading. So people can definitely be mean about your appearance. And I think that's just what you've got to take on board going on telly, that people are going to judge. So that can be hard to take. What can you do? You're putting yourself out there on telly, so I think you have got to expect it a little bit. So I do obviously judge, you know, your appearance, what you look like is, you know, I think you are getting judged on it. And I judge on I guess I beat myself up a little bit about my work ethic and everything. I'm like, come on, Hayley, you can do more. So I sort of judge myself on the fact that I could, work harder. And I guess it's just we all beat ourselves up a little bit, don't we?
Yeah. You know what? ChatGPT has been analysing me, and I'm now convinced that I have high performance anxiety, which is not the anxiety where you can't go out or speak to people, but it's the anxiety of like, I've not done enough. Don't ever relax. Keep going. More emails. And I'm like, oh my God, I think that is me, you know? It's like I never take a moment to relax.
Yeah, I totally get that. And so many people are the other way as well. And they just like, oh, I can't be bothered and stuff. But I'm always like, oh, come on, just do that one more little thing because that can make a difference. And yeah, I'm a bit like that too.
So the other thing I wanted to ask that I've been asking a lot of guests is, what is embarrassing at your age? Now, to give like context of this, it's because I feel there's been such a big shift between the generations. It's why the podcast is called Generation Uncharted, because for a lot of us, if we look at our parents, you know, they were married and had children at your age and whatever, or they were just able to sort of settle down a lot easier, whereas, and the path was a lot easier as well. A lot of them stayed in the same towns where they grew up and
Yeah.
stuff, whereas our generation, it's like, no, it's totally a different landscape. Like, people don't settle down at that age. People don't, a lot of people don't have children. Even just being able to afford a house is like a pipe dream now. And then if you look at the jobs market, everything has changed. We were talking at the start of this about, there used to be 3 or 4 channels, so chances were limited, whereas now there's millions on YouTube. So it's really hard to know whether you're coming or going. So I wanted to know, is there anything that you feel embarrassed about at your age? Like, we had one guest on who said she was embarrassed that she didn't have any savings at her age or things like that. So I just want to know what pressures you feel under.
Yeah, I think it's weird. I don't really think about it, but when I go back to my hometown, people are like, "So, are you not going to have kids then? Like, have you not settled down yet?" Like, it's got a lot of that. I don't really find it in London. I don't find people really say that to me. But in small town, yeah, I feel people say it, and it used to really upset me because I used to feel like I'd done something wrong. I was like, "Oh," but it's like we're all different, and it all comes at different times. And for me personally, I wake up and I think, right, what can I do towards my dream today? Like, that's what I think. I don't think I just really want to settle down, and it's just not my mindset. It's not how I'm thinking.
Yeah.
So, but a lot of people, I feel, from my hometown, honestly, they're like really proud of me. They're like, "Oh, it's amazing what you've done." But I do get quite a lot of like, "Do you not want to like come back here then and just like settle down?" And it's like, no, I want to go to Hollywood. I don't think me and my mum, we talk about it quite a lot. She'd be like, "Oh, like, I don't, sometimes I feel people don't really understand, but I can't help the way I am. It's just not how I think. But maybe one day it might change."
It's good to be unapologetically you.
Yeah, like, I just feel like I'm still in my 20s. Like, I've got so much energy and so, like, just full of fun, and I just want to have fun the whole time. And I just don't, maybe that's not how everyone else operates, but that's just how I operate. So you can't change it for other people. Like, in my head, I'm like proud of where I've come from, to do what I do, and who knows what's going to happen in life. But I live for the moment. I live in the day. I do have loads of fun every day, and I'm very blessed to do what I do. Whether that's not very traditional and correct, probably not, but it's just how it's happened.
Sort of on a similar vein, I want to know who you compare yourself to, because I feel like a big issue we all have today, especially through Instagram, is this comparison culture. He's got bigger muscles than me, or his house is bigger than me, or sometimes from an inspiration of like, there was a dad I know that took his kid to some sort of train event the other day, and I was like, oh my god, I messaged him on Instagram, like, where was this? Like, my little girl would love this. So I just want to know how do you feel on comparison? Do you look at other presenters and think, how did she get that job, or how did she get that job? How do you feel in response to comparison culture yourself?
Yeah, it's a good question, isn't it? Because you don't really think until you stop about it. But I think that, of course, it's natural we all look at other people in our field and be like, "Oh, okay." But, I try to look at it like we've all got different strengths. There's so many people that have got different strengths to what I have, and I feel like I've got different strengths to what other people have. Yeah, of course, like, sometimes I'm like, I wish I could be doing that. Like, that's exactly what I want to do. And, but again, you don't know people's backstories, you don't know people's jobs, and you don't know what they've gone through to get to there. But yeah, I guess you do look at people in your field and just be like, that's what I want to do. I want to do that. But then that's natural because you're trying to get to your dream. So of course if people are doing what you want to do, you're going to be like, that's what, I want to get there. Like I said, I think you've got to stay in your own lane, because when you start getting jealous of what people are doing, it's like, that's just not a good mindset to be in. I just try and be like, oh, you know what? That's great that they've got to there. And you know what? That's going to be me. I'm going to be doing that. And yeah, that's actually good inspiration for me, because when I sit down and watch that show, I'll sit there and be like, that's going to be me. I'm going to be sat there. Call me deluded, but you've got to be like that.
I love that. Talk to me a little bit about home then, because home is a really big one for a lot of people. Feeling comfortable where you live, or maybe, having aspirations of living somewhere else. Talk to me about where you talked a little bit about being with your mom at the weekends, which is really nice, but where is home for you? And is there somewhere you have always wanted to live?
I love living in London, and I always said that I just come for a year, and I've been here 20 years. And I remember being like, oh, I'm going to London when I lived in Portsmouth. Everyone was like, no, you're not. And I was like, yes, I am. And remember, I brought a blow up bed from Argos, and I literally went to my friends and slept on their floor just to get to London. And then I'd go out and meet people and create opportunities. And I was like, and built my way up. But I would love to move to America. And everyone says, you won't like it. It's really fake out in LA. But I love it. I went 2 years ago to LA, and I was meant to go for a week, ended up staying a couple of weeks, and I just felt so at home. And that is on my vision board, and somehow I will get there.
Oh, I love that. The smile on your face as well. It's like, yeah, I can tell you really want to go there. Do you feel like London now, like I feel like a lot of people say London's over, it's too expensive, it's not what it was. But in the kind of field that you and I are in, there is an element of needing to be here. At least I hear a lot of people now say like, oh, I'm going to move out of London, but I'll just come back a few days a week or whatever, or I'll just come back for the big stuff. Do you think you could ever do that? Or would you just not want to?
No, I like London's where I am. Like I'm just used to London life. Actually, when I do go out, it is lovely, but then I'm like, oh, I can't miss the hustle and bustle of it. People complain about London, but come on, it's an amazing city. We can do anything we want. If we want to go out tonight, we can. Go to the theatre, buzzy. Come on, I love it. I love it. If you're bored of London, you're bored of life.
Okay, well, there we go. Well, I just wanted to end this interview now with just one final question. I just wanted to know what of your biggest career highlights have been from a presenter point of view. It's obviously a lot of work, as you've talked about. It's hustling, go, 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 trying to meet the right people. But when you actually look back, because this is something I'm quite bad at doing, I'll write a book and do all this kind of stuff, and I'll be like, well, I'm just ticking things off my to-do list. It's like, people are like, did you not have a bottle of champagne to celebrate the book or whatever? So we're like, well, there wasn't time because I was doing the next thing. So what have been the moments where you've really stopped in your career and been like, I cannot believe I did that. That was brilliant.
Yeah. There's two things that come to mind. One is that I did my work experience, and I was down at Loose Women, the show. And so I would sit there and be like, one day I'm going to be sat there. And then I've been there twice, sat on the panel. So that was like so special for me, because I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I was that work experience girl, and now I'm sat here doing this. That was amazing. And the other thing is that I'm so proud of my show Saturday Night with Hayley Palmer, because I started it in my dining room. Nobody wanted to come on it. My dad was the cameraman. We literally were like just laughing, going, this is ridiculous. But now, I built it up. I've had over 600 guests on there. And this year I was like, I'm going to have an audience. And I've done 2 so far, Saturday night live shows with an audience in the West End of London. And it was a pinch me moment, because I've just, like I say, come from nothing to get, I'm getting emotional speaking about it. It's because I haven't stopped to think, It's like you have done really well to get where you've got. And you've got, like you say, you've got to take those moments to just really go, oh my God, I've come this far. Like me 7 years ago would never have believed I could have done that. So yeah, I think it is important. You're right. So on that note, I'm going to go out and celebrate tonight.
Yeah, good for you. Well, so then the final question is just, where can people go to find out more about you? How do they watch the show? Give us all your plugs.
Yes, you can watch the show on Freeview Channel Box 271. So that's Saturday Night with Hayley Palmer at 9 p.m. every Saturday. And if you miss it on there, you can go and catch up on YouTube. So yeah, catch me on the shopping channel as well, or doing the showbiz report somewhere. And if you want to get in contact because you are thinking about being a presenter, I'm always happy to help and, puts you off in the right direction. Not put you off, get you in the right direction.
Perfect. Thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you, Liz. I really enjoyed it. It's lovely to chat with you.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe.